So, ladies and gentlemen, are we getting another Star Wars? Well, Sean Levi's Star Wars movie now has a writer. 2 years. Gonna emphasize that. 2 years after they announced it. 2 years. They finally got a writer. There's not a lot of news about this. Why would there be? You know, it's only 2 years in the making so far. The real story here isn't that they've got a writer, right? The real story here is how fundamentally infantile Lucasfilm is in terms of how they make films. You announced this film in 2022. You had a director. You didn't have a writer, and now now you've got a writer. Rather than announcing it with a writer and director, and having, Sean Levi's gone off, obviously doing his other projects that he was working on and things like this, and having that writer, maybe do the first and second draft during the time Sean Levi was busy. No, ladies and gents, they announced it in 2022 because they're looking to boost stock price like they always do. They always do this. And now 2 years later, they finally got a writer on board. Is this even happening? Probably not. Let's get real here. It is a complete shit show. So, Hollywood Reporter confirmed that this individual, Jonathan Tropper, has jumped on board. Lucasfilm has hired him to pen the script for this feature. This individual has worked with Sean Levi before. He did the Adam project for Netflix. Pretty paint-by-numbers sci-fi film, fairly non-offensive. It is a thing. It's kind of meh, fine, whatever. And he's worked with Sean Levi before. But the real clincher on all of this is, as we scroll down, you'll hear it says here, Levi has a full plate and it's unclear if and when this movie would get off the ground. In addition to the final season of Stranger Things, which he's produced and directed episodes of, his name has been mentioned in connection with Marvel Studios' next Avengers movie, though it's unknown if that one will come to fruition as well. So, this movie is... is this happening? No, probably not. Why? One of the biggest movie studios of all time, and their structure is, we're going to announce a movie, got a director on board, don't have a writer, don't have a story, in fact. But 2 years down the line, maybe we'll get a writer, and maybe it will happen. What a complete shit show. Complete shit show. Thoughts?
Well, this one I think is a little different than some of the other ones. I think part of the delay might have been the strike pushing off Deadpool and other things. So I think this will happen because I think it's going to be... There's no doubt that Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be a success. So this is probably a more likely candidate to actually happen because I'm not so sure about the Mangold one. The Rey movie and the Mandalorian movie are likely, but we'll see.
Wait, you say likely? That one's supposed to be in theaters literally late spring 2026. They're going to have to get on that now. We've heard nothing about any of these things. And
that's why I said likely, not necessarily for sure.
Well, yeah, true. The thing which hits me about this is, does this not reek of Blade reboot all over? We're going to announce the film 5 years later, it's still not there. 5 years later, we're still not shooting it.
Yeah, it's a lot of toss stuff at the wall and see what sticks at this point, it feels like, with everything over there at Disney. I mean, they keep announcing a lot of stuff, especially Star Wars projects.
And again, Tom, I think they can announce things all day long, but they have to get the green light from Big Bob because Lucasfilm isn't allowed to call the shots when it comes to films. I mean, you've said it yourself.
Which is why recently. I think this one has more of a chance because we know Deadpool and Wolverine will be a hit. Right. So there'll be a less chance of KK interfering with it in any way, and it'll likely get a green light as long as,
If it comes out of Bob's mouth, it has a better chance.
Yeah, if it gets brought up at the next earnings call or whatever, that's generally a good chance.
Yeah, I'm going to say it this way. I'm with Nate. This ain't going to happen. They
I mean, sorry.
no, please go ahead, Nate.
I was just say it doesn't bode well, does it? I mean, I know it's obviously it's something that's so obvious or so common that it's almost to the point of cliche. That big projects are difficult to get off the ground, and until it's actually showed in theatres, you can never tell, you never know. But still, it doesn't bode well, does it? In all sorts of ways. It's funny. I've said this before. I think in the sort of the normal private business world, you have a project manager, and there's no way you wait 2 years to get the most fundamental things in place. There's just no way. The project would just be mothballed or rounded up long before then, or some things would happen, or they'd change out the project managers or something. You just simply would not be allowed to do this type of thing. Have 2 years pass and essentially nothing really happen. But there you go. I mean, the movie business is of course completely different to sort of any other normal business.
Well, to me, the track record of Star Wars movies actually happening is incredibly slim. They're constantly always announcing them. They've announced more than they've made. They've fired more people than they've hired as well. No, that doesn't make sense.
No, it's true though. I brought it up. It's true.
Okay.
They've announced projects and hired people on to start them, but then turn around and fired them. More of that has happened than actual projects have been come to fruition. So like I used to get shit for making that joke, and it was kind of a joke at first, but now it's literally become true. Because if you count all these projects, including Ryan Johnson's and other ones that have been announced and never came to fruition, at this point, Kathleen Kennedy has literally fired more people than she's hired.
Yeah, well, they've also got a strong habit, Kathleen Kennedy especially, of maybe it's Bob Iger, but they always announce these things on investors' calls.
Yep.
Always on earnings calls, right? So they're always announcing this stuff, and 9 times out of 10 they don't happen.
Well, there's a pattern generally to them that doesn't necessarily follow the pattern. That's the only other reason why I'm kind of like, maybe there's a chance here that there's something to this. Because normally the pattern is Kathy will find somebody who's an up-and-comer, give them a project, just on the eve of them having some big release come out. The big release will come out, it will flop, and then the project will either fall to pieces or they'll be flat out fired, right? Everything from what's-her-face on Wonder Woman to all these other projects of the past that have happened. Famously, the guy from who's going to do the third Star Wars film, the Jurassic Park guy,
Colin Trevorrow.
Colin Trevorrow is another good example of this. Where she'll announce one of these projects with one of these people. It's a big deal. As soon as their movie comes out and flops, then it's like adios amigos. Your project's not happening anymore. Slowly or surely, it'll come to that point. With Sean here, that's why I think this is a different. Because we know Deadpool and Wolverine's going to be a hit. Sean's last few films have done okay. He is one of those few guys in Hollywood who kind of has a pretty good track record right now, regardless of what you feel of the films.
Only because he works with Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds has a good track record.
That's true.
I actually don't think.
Well, he's got Stranger Things too. That's the other thing. So
yeah, I actually don't think Deadpool and Wolverine will be that successful. I really don't. I think it'll cross $1 billion, which sure, it's successful, but it's not as successful as it should have. As it potentially should be.
Either way, that's a success for them because it'll be the most successful Deadpool movie. That's how they'll spin it.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no, I mean you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, there's no way in hell they're going to want just $1 billion though. They would want.
But they'll be happy with it because it'll beat the first two.
True. But again, what a complete shit show. Why did they not have a writer on board? Why did you not announce it with a writer? Like, seriously?
Well, that's where I was thinking maybe the writer's strike got in the way of that. That's where I was saying, like, I see where you're coming from, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just kind of looking at it from the other angle. Yeah, but the writer's strike happened last year, so it could have happened in the middle of all this stuff. And that's the thing. When they announce these things, these people have already been working on these things for a while, usually. It's just now
exactly. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. So they weren't working on it at all. They announced it completely bare. There was nothing attached to it at all. Just the chap, just the director. I just think it's just terrible. It's just lazy way to do business. You should have, the argument of, oh, well, he's busy. That's not an argument because you could have a writer doing your first draft, second draft, third draft. You know, especially the amount of drafts we know that Marvel goes through, 36 or 32 for Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange. Like, come on, man! Like, they should have been worked on by now already.
They already had a writer working on the Kevin Feige project that wasn't supposedly happening too. So,
that one that doesn't exist.
Yeah, the one that never existed that they had a writer working on.
Even though they announced it on their official page.
Like 30 plus drafts of something.
Did you not know that?
No.
Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness had over 32 versions of the script.
The thing is, like, I write for lotuseaters.com, and if I don't mean to just say this simply to blow my own trumpet, but I've been published in a few places and have tried my hand at novel writing and all sorts of things. I wouldn't call myself a writer necessarily, but I've done a lot of writing in my time. Done long dissertations and things, and interest in literature. Studied literature at A level and undergrad a bit. Literary analysis. Anything that's rewritten 30 times is a piece of shit. Almost by definition. Like, some of the best things that are ever written come from the mind of someone that's actually a writer in the first place, and it almost spills out. Not perfect. You have to polish it. You might polish it for years. I'm not saying that, but many like 30 drafts. There's something profoundly wrong there. In my own experience, maybe 2 or 3 drafts and then a whole bunch of polishing. If you have to redraft something 5 times, 10 times, you're trying to polish a turd. It's not a good idea. It's like writing by committee. Not a great idea. Some of the best things that are ever done, like, for example, like Mozart, he would write a piece of music and it would come out almost perfect first time. I'm not saying that all writers are like Mozart. I'm not saying that. But the point is, if you've got more than 10 drafts, 20, 30 drafts or something, there's a complete failure, both of the writing process and of any sort of management oversight process. That's a broken system. That says to me.
I just looked it up here because I asked Script Doctor, but he didn't answer me. He's probably busy. I asked him what scale was for a rewrite on a script. According to Google, the average is 75,000 to 250,000.
What, sorry?
So that's how much each one of those rewrites probably would have cost them.
Oh, I see.
Oh, right.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out. So you said 32?
Yeah.
Okay, let's just kind of give them like the benefit of the doubt that they barely paid these writers over scale. Okay, so we'll say $100,000. That's $32,000, $320,000 just spent on fucking rewrites.
I know, it's 33 rewrites. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm sorry, $330,000.
It's silly, isn't it? It's silly.
If my math is correct, somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm stuck at math. But yeah,
it's that would be in like the 3 million region, but it's just
no, it's a lot more than that. I'm sorry, I'm way wrong.
It's 100 grand, then you're looking at like
you're more like 3 million. Yeah, 3.3 million. Yep, thank you, Rogue Thinker. I just got it too. Yep.
It's like, do you have something good? Do you have the story? Do you have the kernel, the seed of any sort of story to begin with? Well, if you're up to 30 rewrites, 30 drafts, then it's just you didn't. These are children playing around, stabbing in the dark endlessly for a story. That's what it sounds like to me. Obviously, I've got no actual proper insight behind the scenes info, but yeah, it's like if you do anything 33 times and are failing at it, right? You try and make pancakes the first 33 times, you bugger it up, you burn them or whatever. You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. It's pretty much
the end result of that film was just a total travesty. Anyway, absolute travesty. What a complete joke of a film. And this is
that movie is like a pure made by committee piece of shit.
Yeah, and this is what I think is destined for this Sean Levi movie as well. But there you go. Are we going to get another Star Wars film? Just a quick yes or no. Do you think we're going to get this film, Culture?
The Sean Levy one, probably not.
History, bro.
Yeah.
I guess not. I mean, probably not. I would have thought.
Right. Tom?
Maybe.
All right. Sitting on the fence there. I like
Since
it.
you made
All right.
me, since you made me go answer it that way, I'll have to say maybe.
I did. Good. Nice. Excellent. Nice sort of gentle topic to warm us up into our show today. Quickly.